This is episode 299 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel. Say something. Fire in the hatch, Manzano.
Hello. Well, there is fire, kind of, sort of, right there.
Slow clap.
I mean, I have no idea what you wanted. You're like, say something.
Will, scrambling on the assault engagement, Hagewood.
It's my favorite scenario.
And Ryan, 33rd year around the sun, Staniszewski.
Yes, today is my birthday, and on my birthday, my son was so nice enough to first time stand up on his own from a seated position.
That's awesome.
And then he also did some walking between mom and dad. And we were all very, very happy. So he's like, who knows, tomorrow or in a couple days, next week, he'd be running around the entire house and we can't catch him.
Soon. This is the next level, my friend. Here it comes. Mobility, true mobility.
Oh yeah, like speed crawling was like, man, he's going. But I can't even imagine what he gets going on when he's actually standing on two legs running, just full speed. Like, all my brain goes to is, what is he going to fall face forward into?
Many things. The answer is many things, Ryan.
He's already shown when he's like falling from standing up that he's catching himself with two hands. So I'm like, you got that already.
He's got some instincts. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, our podcast episode is brought to you by our Gold Squadron patrons. Thank you so much for your amazing support. So, announcements and news is where I want to start with. And for most of you, this announcement and news is probably going to be unexpected and kind of random, but I wanted to bring it up because 'tis the time to bring it up. We're in the ramp up to Worlds. I think, Ryan, you said we had 3 weeks and 2 days. Is that right?
1 month and 2 days.
1 month and 2 days. All right.
Yeah, because March 22nd is the first official day of Adepticon. Not the first official day we'll play, but I'm traveling on the 22nd. I'm gonna be there on the 22nd, so it's already start of Worlds for me.
Very true. So we're gonna be. We're on the road now to Worlds with our content, and an unexpected thing that I want to announce here is Gold Squadron Paint Wars live at Worlds 2023. Now let me explain what I mean and what I'm talking about so you guys understand. As you know, we did season 1 of Gold Squadron Paint Wars, and it was very fun. We had a great time, made some cool content, and we have ships and things for a second season. We recorded a lot of things. The painters recorded a lot of things, but unfortunately, due to I don't know if you guys remember the Galactic Championship, the day where my computer completely died. Do you remember this? On that day, we lost a significant amount of the video footage. It either was gone or corrupted. I have about a third of it. I got about a third of it where it works. I tried to send a hard drive to get repaired so they could try to do some data recovery. We got one video working, mostly. It's kind of like glitchy and stuff like that. But essentially, we don't have the season 2 worth of Paint Wars of the videos. So I got put in a weird situation and had to decide how to move forward, because Paint Wars in and of itself is an extremely expensive endeavor. And to go back and ask people to record again and do all this stuff, it was just not feasible already. And I'm just being very candid with you as an audience. The Paint Wars was something I wanted to do for fun, to get cool prizes made, but it ended up not being worth it. It just was very expensive, and in the end, just costs way too much money. We lost a significant portion of our revenue due to Paint Wars. But I have these amazing ships. They're literally sitting, okay, right in this black box, right outside of the camera, just in their boxes. They've been lying in wait. So I just say, you know what? Worlds is going to be at Adepticon. Let me just hold on for a minute. Here's the plan. They're going to be in a display case at the World Championships. We're going to have, and I'm going to release pictures of them and everything. They're going to be on the GSP table, all right? So people can get a look at them in person. We're going to have some online voting, and that is how we're going to determine the winners for each of those episodes, quote unquote episodes for those. So there'll be 3 of each ship. We'll have a little place card there that says what the theme was, and just be able to give a shout out to each of those painters. And I want to get their amazing work out there, and it's just been a lot of stress on my part, because I know that the painters have been a little disappointed, not even a little, significantly disappointed, asking questions like when, where, what. And it's just, I've been at a loss. I've spent way more money than I probably should have trying to recover files to get it fixed, when being told that I should probably stop already, and I didn't. So at this point, I'm going to cut the losses. But since we're revealing all the ships, you know what we can do at Worlds, guys? You know what we can do? We can give some of those away.
Oh, I thought we'd do like a live view, live stream ourselves talking about them, taking a look at them for the first time, full reveal. To the audience.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. We're gonna have to plan that part. But yeah, at the end, why not give some of them away, right? So super excited about it. Go Squadron Paint Wars Live will be a part of what's going on at Adepticon. Aside from all the official X-Wing coverage that we have there. We have the hall for more than just the time X-Wing's playing, so let's have some fun with that time. But yeah, that is the update on that for me. If you were a participant in Paint Wars Season 2, you know that your stuff hasn't been shown. Now you know the glory will be there, and it'll be tons of fun. All right, so this week, we got 3 different topics we're going to be hitting. We're going to be talking about Sector Series, the update there going into the cut, some Worlds prep, and some very important Worlds prep when it comes to making sure you have the right components when it comes to the World Championships, and maybe having an understanding, even if you're not attending Worlds, having an understanding of what the expectations are at this type of tournament, especially with AMG starting to really take over, and this is their first World Championship, how they're going to run things. And then we, for fun, calling it the Boogeyman of the Week. What is a pilot that you're probably going to see at Worlds? Let's talk about what are some list building partners that are going to be with that pilot. What do they do? What can you do against them? Do you have a hope? We'll find out. All right, Sector Series. We'll start there. Today, I had to go through, and for Sector Series, we're taking the top 4 from each of the sectors to make our final top 16. Now, the way that the event was structured, we have a bunch of people in different numbers of people in each of the sectors, which means that it's going to be inconsistent. So, let's go ahead and talk about Sector 1. Will, who's our top 3, our guaranteed top 3 for Sector 1?
All right, well, I know one of them because it's me. I was fortunate enough to go 5-0. But let me pull up the others. So we have Caleb Beardock. Then we have Sunset Cyber from Hangar 19 coming in with also 5 wins, 0 losses. We have Saldo at 4 wins, 1 tie. Raptor Ritter, very own James, at 4 and 1 tie. And Sparkle Lord with 4 and 1 tie as well. So that made then the bottom 2, Raptor Ritter and Sparkle Lord, have to face off in the wild card round to be able to fill in that 4th spot.
All right, and Ryan, what about Sector 2? Sector 2, we had a clean top 4. Who's making it there?
Sector 2, we have Wynand, we have Value Pick Squadron, which I believe is the LVO champ. Chopper, and Worms. Worms, I think, was also
The LVO finalist.
LVO finalists. So
Yes.
we have two people, the two people potentially representing the final of LVO who made it into Sector 2 Final Four.
All right. And Marcel, what about Sector 3?
Let's unmute. Sector 3. I don't know these people. Maybe I do. I don't know these people. So it's going to be Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan is flew the Republic at some point, I guess. Then you have JB Fancourt with Obi-Wan going 5-0. JB Fancourt flying some scum salad-ish kind of thing with 4 wins and 1 loss. Of the Deep. That sounds super familiar.
That's Steve Cotillo.
Oh, there you go. I'm like, okay.
That's why it's so familiar there.
I'm like, I think I know that guy. So he went 4-1.
You did know one. It turns out you did know one.
Yeah, I did know one. Flying, at some point flying Double Desi and I guess Vader. And then Ken Grory, also going 4-1. It's a clean top 4 with some type of looks like some TIFOs, 3 TIFOs. I am guessing 3 TIFOs and 2 TIE silencers. It looks like, at least by the shapes there.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we got to talk about Sector 4, because Sector 4 is our problem child, all right? So...
disqualify them.
all of them. Sector 4, eliminated. We'll do like the Empire did. You've been decommissioned. I'm sorry. All right? So, all fun aside here, what ended up happening is, with the rules for Sector Series that I put in place, we called it a modified top 4 for each of the sectors when it came to figuring out who's going to play in the wild card round to then pare it down to a top 4. But we ended up with 11 people tied for 4th place, essentially, when it came to the event points tiebreaker. I had to make a bunch of decisions and figure out how to, with enough time to get Sector Series done before Worlds, and respecting people's time and not switching things too crazy, right away, figure out how to get a top 4. So what we're going to end up doing is the following. We will have 2 wildcard weeks. Okay, this week for Sector 1, the only 1 game needs to be played in order to figure that out. Sector 2 and 3 are going to end up having 2 bye weeks, essentially. So, and then in Sector 4, there's going to be 2 rounds of play. Now, here is the part that it broke my heart. It broke my heart even so much. I went and I apologized with the fun drawing here. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you guys. All right, if you guys are familiar with the trolley problem, okay. So so Corriton was the 3rd ranked player who was 5-0 in Swiss. And in order to get it done in 2 weeks, to get it down to a top 4, our 3rd ranked player had to play. All right, and basically I say, hey, SOS better. But I'm choosing, if I was choosing my champion for Sector Series, it's Corriton now. I believe in him, all right? But it does mean that he has to play 2 games. He has to play 2 more games to get into the top 4. But also, our 1st and 2nd seed also need to play a game. But they're going to play in the 2nd week of the bye weeks in order to figure out if they make the top 4 or not. After that, we will end up back to a top 4, set, ready to go, and then we will end up planning the top 16. Now, what will end up happening there is we'll find out who will not only be the winner of Sector Series, but also what sector ends up winning, where essentially my plan for pairings is to do it kind of team-based, where the people in each sector are representing their sector. So you will not play somebody, ideally, if I'm going to pair it correctly, you won't play somebody from your sector in the first round of the top 16, and probably not the second round. After that, it's impossible to not make that happen. But should be fun. Should be a good time. Excited to see how that culminates in crowning our sector champion. And then the following week, we crown a world champion. And that will be the end of the X-Wing season as we get ready for the next one. Should be a good time. Was that clear, guys? Was that
Not at all.
Not at all? Well, I mean, I don't expect you to pay attention to what I'm saying.
It makes sense.
Got it.
Sector 4 has 2 more rounds of Swiss, is
Essentially
more or less what it breaks down to.
Yep. That's exactly. I know some people were like, "Oh, it doesn't feel fair." It's like, it's essentially more Swiss rounds, but everybody else doesn't have to play. All right. I'm glad those of you who played, of course, had fun. All right, let's jump into our World Championship prep here. Ryan, I'll let you go ahead and lead this. Pass the baton.
So basically, some documentation came out provided by our judges from Worlds. Directly was communicated to X-Wing communities all around by Josh Taylor, who is one of the Worlds judges. These are specifically the 2023 X-Wing Worlds component guidelines. Components as in what you normally bring to your games, your ships, your dials, your templates, your tokens, your dice, everything you would bring with you to an event. So what this goes into detail, section by section, through a table description. I mean, I can go word by word, Dion, if you want me to start reading, or we can summarize it up.
Let's start with the summary, and if any questions come up between us, we can dig a little bit.
Sure. So I highly recommend everyone should go read this. Every part of it. It is important.
If
There's
you're
going
listening,
to be something you're going to miss if you don't read all of it, and it's going to hurt you. It may hurt you.
If you're listening, this will be linked in the description. It'll be the top thing.
Yes. So basically, there's sort of 2 set rules right now, because there, as Dion is fully aware of and has probably already been made aware of, there are stream game guidelines, and there are every other game going on guidelines, as in what the judges are actually able to police and make sure of and verify on a reasonable scale, and then also make sure what they can enforce and what's required to be enforced by AMG or Asmodee rules. So whether this deals with your plastic ship bases and pegs, your ship tokens, the actual ship models themselves, because some people do like to paint and customize their ships. There are guidelines in here as to how far you can take that, what's acceptable. Cards, ship, pilot, upgrade, condition, everything across the board. Official, alt art, etc. Basically across the board, your best assumption is everything you bring with you should be an original FFG or AMG official component or prize earned piece. So as an example, if you have a set of acrylic templates made by some company and you had them put some cool logos for your local squadron on there, and you're going on stream, you're going to need to use a set of templates that, Dion, feel free to let us know after discussing how much your table on stream is going to have with and provide, in case anyone comes up doesn't have said things. My original assumption was, but as I've told people this as well, I can't 100% speak for you, but you will have sets of tokens and templates and dice that are just the most official ones there.
The plan is to have 2 sets of everything. In a perfect world, I would have more than 2 because things walk away. But that's, it gets more and more expensive to do some of those things. Especially I'm having to go out and get some official template sets and things like that aren't in our inventory for stuff like that. So we will have things available for y'all to use to be on stream, because one of my worries originally when they were saying, was like, well, Dion, everything has to be perfect. It's like, well, can a player just bring what they have and some of the third party? And they were like, they're asking very, I'm talking about AMG, I'm going to be very direct here. AMG is like, listen, use our stuff only, please. Essentially. So I'm in the place of like being, okay, all right, cool. In an emergency, if a non-official thing shows up, you're not going to get me fired or anything. It's going to be okay. We're just going to do our best to make sure that we do as AMG has requested.
Yeah, best solution. If you have doubts about anything, have any questions, get in contact with one of the judges, or get in contact, whether it's now or at the event, right? Especially if on stream, just assume whatever you're using is going to be whatever Dion provides. Some people, like Will, Marcel, myself, actually probably more players than you think, have templates from previously earned events, whether it was hyperspace trials before COVID when they had those frosted blue templates, system open templates, dice from worlds past, etc., etc. All that stuff is still official alternate promo prized items that can still be, correct me if I'm wrong, Dion, on your stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all
that stuff's
one of
fine.
the official things prized in the past.
Yeah, my plan, my thought for ease of for me as a broadcaster, and also for consistency, is saying, hey, if you can you just use my stuff, minus the ships, of course, and the cards, those things. But if you could use my templates, my dice, and the tokens that we have there for you, we should be good. Like that's going to be my request.
If you have alt arts, you best bring your original card also.
Yes.
If you
Which you should have been already, right? Like that's something you should have already been doing.
Yeah. But just as a reminder for people who haven't been to events like this in a while, at this official level, you need to have the original card with you if you're also bringing your alt art. And for some people, they may ask you to make sure you have the official card out in, like, say if you have a card sleeve and you got the alt art in front because that's what you want to show because it's really cool, the official sleeved behind it. Don't be surprised if you have certain people like, could you sleeve the official in front? It's easier to recognize me, to read, etc., etc. Also, the errata reference document on AMG's X-Wing Documents website. If you have a pilot that is on that, or upgrade that is on that errata sheet, print out that print in the print and play available document that it is. That has what we're used to only bringing is the Whisper bases, the TIE Whisper bases. But for people who, like, so here's some very popular pilots that people will have to print and play and have with them. Anakin 7B, Captain Faroff, Zir. Because all those ailerons, they're all different now than they used to be. And there's plenty of other cards that people could need to reprint. Contraband Cybernetics would need a reprint, even though I think the only thing that changed on it is your charge cannot be recovered. So make sure you have, even if it's just, I print it on my crappy printer, but I have it like just to cut it out and sleeve it into the card that I have that it's the original version, whatever, do that. Get in touch with other people that you know that may be looking at printing that normally do alt art prints for your community. Get in touch with them, see if they want to do just a run of locals that you're having or people that you're meeting up with at Worlds that want to print out some nicer versions of those cards and do that. I think the most common things people are concerned about, though, are their own templates when they're not on stream and their own tokens when they're not on stream. So, to go over those directly, range and maneuver templates and tools at non-stream tables. So, official components, but maneuver templates must have center lines. Excuse me. So, to clarify, there are older versions of templates that people have won in the past that don't have the center line. You need to have the center line. So you couldn't use those ones. I know there were services in the past people used to get their old templates, had their center lines engraved into them by certain companies or people who could do that. I would get in touch with a judge. They may require it to be officially printed and made once and not people making their own center lines.
Yep.
No matter how close or accurate they try to be, just get with a judge to make sure.
You want to make sure, some random person's not just taking a Sharpie and going, "Okay, good enough."
Exactly. 1.5 range rule may be printed at the correct size from the errata. So what we had been using in the past to help determine the center objective point, that range, 4.5, right? 5.5?
Yeah.
Third-party range and maneuver templates and tools are permitted so long as they match the dimensions of the official components and comply with the tournament regulations and Adepticon rules, including the approval of the event organizer. So, if you're planning on bringing a set that's not official, that's third-party made, make sure, double-check tournament regulation documents and double-check the Adepticon rules directly themselves outside of this document here. But at base, make sure you check it against any other templates you own. If something's off, probably wouldn't bring it or use it. Check it with other templates other people own. And obviously check with, and if you're bringing a third-party set of templates, bring an official set of some capacity just in case. Because if you go up to the event organizer and they tell you, I'm sorry, you can't use these because X reason, whether it is, your 3 turns a little bit off here. Could you please replace that with something else? Or multiple parts of the template. Like, you should have a backup if you're bringing a third-party set, just in case the event organizer finds something that doesn't line up with your set. If you can't figure out, with your own testing to make sure they're aligned. But even then, the event organizer has to check them. For tokens, calculate focus, evade, reinforce, disarm, jam, tractor, cloak, stress, ion, critical damage, lock, deplete, and strain. Official components, obviously, third-party versions are permitted so long as the tokens, charges, markers, counters, and indicators that are used are clear as to what they represent. Do not interfere with gameplay and otherwise comply with tournament regulations and Adepticon rules. So here's a good example of what not to bring. I have a token that is a giant, comic book saying, it's saying bubble, and it says maximum effort. I love using that for my Scorched Stress. But I'm not going to use that as a stress token because it clearly, if they walk by the table, what's that token for? They don't know. It's just a red token that says maximum effort on it. It could have been DT straining. It could have been Scorched Stressing. It could have been a multitude of things. That's not a token that would be acceptable. So it needs to clearly be identified as what it does, what it is. It doesn't interfere with play and complies with tournament regulations and Adepticon rules. So cross-reference that to be sure.
So essentially, if a token, here's how I interpret this. If a token doesn't have the symbol for which it is representative, you probably shouldn't be using it, right?
Yep.
For the tournament. So similar to yourself, I've used, something as simple as like a Darth Vader little toy as a target lock, something like that. Like that would not for Worlds does not fly. It needs to be a target lock shape. Make it very clear. And the biggest reason is so that a judge can walk by, look at your table, and know exactly what's going on and not have to ask any questions. Unless you're being sloppy, that's different. But
yeah, they don't like, especially a judge, even a regular X-wing spectator could walk by and be like, "All right, I know what all those tokens mean. Easy, no problem." Now, so I'll probably get this clarified myself because the only set of tokens that I have, actually, I have two now that I think about it, that would be questionable that I might want to make sure I grab my originals. I think this one probably won't fly, is Crossroads made calculate tokens that are literally just tiny little icons that look like calculators. So it's the same green circle, but it shows calculator on it, not the calculate eyeballs. I'm probably going to think that one won't fly, even though it's supposed to, people will make tokens like that. They're like a play on words type of thing. I'm probably going to stay away from that one.
Yeah.
But my target lock stuff I got from Curled Paw, as an example. They have a number that goes on the base plate. Oh, I have 1 through 6. I have target locks that are red. Basically, the base indicator itself is all I need. There's no token you need to have for your original.
Yep.
So should I or can I bring the red target lock tokens if they have the corresponding number and they might be a slightly different shape, but they're still red, which is helpful, and they still denote the same number that I have as the base indicator on my ship? I'm probably going to double check with the event organizer for that, just because they're not exactly like the lock tokens. They were third party, and they're numbered just 1 through 6 instead of using the plethora of extra numbers and stuff we have right now.
Yep.
My guess is generally going to be okay, but if I'm questioning it, I'm going to double check.
Yeah, from my understanding, those are fine because there was a 1 through 6 released, right? Like that does exist. It's a square, and it works. It fits that profile.
That's the big part too. So people got to remember, it's not only the color of tokens, the actual shape matters by rules as well. Circle tokens go away at the end phase. Square tokens hang around. That's why even no matter what color they are, it matters also because, as we know, you could have all our green tokens that we've seen are all circular. They go away at the end phase. But all our orange tokens are circular. They go away at the end phase also. But orange and green, different color, mean different things, and they use different effects based upon their actual iconography. But the shapes is what denotes what continues on into the next phase.
And I would say, I saw somebody say, what about Space Jam tokens? I think you can get away with a Space Jam token. It's a circle, mostly. Circle with the ring. It has a jam symbol in the middle. It's pretty obvious what it is, in my opinion. But again, ask the event organizer, not me. I'm just a streamer. I know I saw some people pop up in the chat like, what about, like, can I wear like a GSP shirt? Can I wear my Hexile Squadron shirt? Can I wear a Black Sun symbol? Yeah, what you wear, your squad box, they can't, that's fine. You're good. You don't have to worry about any of that. I know you might have stickers that have different symbols on them. Maybe you wear a Spider-Man t-shirt. That's cool. That's fine. Yeah. So I just want to clarify that because I did see that question pop up several times about we're talking about only what ends up on the board.
What if I just want to wear Speedos and flip-flops with Darth Vader on the booty?
That might
sounds
fall
like more
under...
of a question for Adepticon themselves. But if you got to the X-Wing table, we were assuming at that point you would have been stopped prior.
Yeah.
Any other chat-based questions, or Will or Marcel? Anything else?
I bet Marcel, you're gonna have to replace like all your tokens, bro. Like all of them.
I don't. I literally throw out all my cardboard. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'm gonna.
This is like the out of everything that I heard, I think the one that's kind of the stickiest point for me is the whole target lock thing. Because, for example, I have for myself and Kayla, we're both going to fly multiples of the same ship, and we use like the numbers on it, like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we use target locks that are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they're not square and red. They're acrylic, and they go with, they're part of the set. You have the arc indicator, the little circle, the little token that goes on the player on the pilot card. So it's all connected. There's very clear.
It sounds like something that you need to reach out for the event organizer for.
Yeah, because it's.
I mean, like if I.
Circle, yeah. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it'll get kind of tricky because it's pretty straightforward what it is, but it's not technically. What's
I'd
allowed,
say
yeah.
when in doubt, or ask the event organizer. I can't say, like, from my perspective how you're describing it. I think I could see an argument either way, but I think it would probably err on the side of it's probably fine. Worst case.
I walked away for a second. While I walked away, did they cover the Whisper base?
Let's see.
Because I am planning on playing
I
Whispers.
didn't specifically go into that, but I can read it right here. Under the ship token section, which is the second one down, only official components. Sounds like makes a ton of sense. They specifically denote for the TIE Whisper. Players may, use a Nantex token with the same initiative or another FO ship token with the same initiative as the pilot being played. The player should make it clear to their opponent before the start of their round what each ship token is being used for.
When they say token, they mean like the
base plate.
The ship base.
The base plate, yeah.
Yeah, the base plate. So you could use a Nantex with the same initiative. So Chair Tech for Nightfall. They're both I4. Or Recret for Kylo.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because between Kayla and I, we're flying 7 Whispers. So,
Jesus.
So we're gonna run.
Yeah, but you can just use TIE.
You can use TIE FOs.
SFs.
SFs.
Any other first order.
It'll be funny. It'll be like Scorch is actually this, and that is actually that.
What you could also do is print replacement ship tokens printed at the correct size from the errata X-Wing reference documents. You can print it.
Got it. Crazy glue.
And must check with and receive event organizer approval with the replacement ship tokens from the printing place. Marcel, if you got that many Whispers, you may want to use the other ship tokens that you have, but like check with it. Get in touch with like Chris Allen or Josh Taylor, Chris Sheriff. Tim, how to pronounce his last name starts with an H. Talked about in Fly Better, they had a whole list together, but Chris Allen's probably your main point man right now. And see if you could be allowed to even just take like a small piece of like tape you can write on and put it over the name. And if you could write or print out like a sticking print label as to what pilot it is over top of the name, so the initiative is correct. The base, obviously, arcs and everything won't be exactly the same unless it's Nantex, but then it won't be shaded green like FO is. Just so it can make it quicker for your opponent to know which is which based upon even on the ship plate itself. It's already the name is on there.
Yeah, I ended up getting some of those from that were going around in Europe where somebody printed like cardboard thickness from the original, so I'm guessing those will be fine, but I'll I'll talk to Chris. Then the other thing that I don't know if you guys covered, but I remember hearing from the Fly Better page is I know that a lot of people like to use like Legos and other things, and
If it's not a game piece, it's not supposed to be on the board. Period. End of story. Yeah.
Got it. Not only in the stream, but just across the board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I think they were saying something about like their social media person wants to take pictures and stuff like that and can't be. Yeah.
When on stream, players are expected to only use official items. Items that are clearly branded from other trademarked franchises such as Lego characters, Harry Potter, Star Trek, etc. will not be allowed to appear. The player will be asked to use alternatives provided by the event. Here's another one, actually. Because if you remember a while ago, towards last Worlds, maybe the end or before COVID, a lot of times people have gotten used to the practice of offering to share dice. There's a little clause in here talks about sharing. Players can request to share components, but players are not required to share components unless required to do so by the event organizer. Stream players may be required to share components. So I haven't actually directly asked Chris this yet to know, because I know it was common practice for people to, or it became a common practice for some people just ask if they'd like to share dice. And then usually the way I do it is I'd offer if we want to share, and then let my opponent decide what set, whether it was mine or theirs. I mean, it doesn't specifically call out dice; it's just components to share. I assume there is sometimes a solution where a event organizer or judge may come by if there's a question about a template discrepancy between
just make
one
them share,
player
right?
and another, and make them share. Yes, actually, that happened to me. 2018 Worlds, in my top 8 game against Simeon. It's like they pulled aside my like templates and someone came by to check them against Simeon's, and like I was like, what did I do wrong? I just got these from a regional win at some point. And yeah, they double checked like both our templates and a couple of them because there was a question about it, and they said for the rest of the match only use one set of the templates. So that could happen. If a judge sees a weird discrepancy or someone notices a discrepancy between 2 sets of templates that are the same, then a judge may say, hey, you guys should use these sets of templates for the rest of the game for both of you.
All right. So those are all the components, all the things you gotta bring. Yeah. Dial covers can be modified, replaced. It must be clear what maneuver it is. Man. So essentially, here's my suggestion. If you're planning on... So I understand the desire to use like acrylic rather than cardboard. I get it. Okay? If you plan on making a purchase if you need to buy acrylic from somebody, do it ASAP. I know for sure that of 2 companies that they are being slammed with orders right now. And if you want your stuff on time, you should get an order in ASAP. I'm just going to give you a little peek behind the curtain. Okay? So if you needed to buy new tokens that fit this because you use action figures for all of your tokens instead of anything that represents a token, the time is now. Just a heads up. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to components? Bombs and devices, we haven't really seen too much of issues when it comes to that. Scenario markers, we are allowed to use the ones from the Epic, right?
And actually, this was one that I looked for really quickly because I got a really nice set of them made for me and a group of our players. Let me find the actual scenario feature markers. So on stream official components, maybe printed at correct size. So Dion, how are you just printing out and putting on some nice card stock essentially for the scenario markers?
So I'm going to be using the ones from the Epic set because I have them.
Epic set.
Yeah, the Epic set is. I noticed that this is not the most up-to-date one, is because it's missing that part in there. But I'm obviously a part of the planning crew for Worlds. We were talking about it, and the most up-to-date version has that. The scenario ones from Epic are valid. Those are legal to use.
So for non-stream tables, third-party versions are permitted so long as they are the correct size and shape. Do not interfere with gameplay and comply with tournament regulations and Adepticon rules. Each round, players will be required to agree upon a set of markers to use. If they cannot agree, players shall call a judge for a neutral set. So, if you have a third-party set, make sure it complies with tournament regulations and Adepticon rules, and they have to be the correct size. I'd really hope that you have the correct size if you bought from a third-party company. If that third-party company got you the wrong size, so oops. So, because I know obviously not a lot of people wanted to buy just the Epic conversion kit just for those.
Yep.
And a lot of people aren't a big fan of print and play stuff. So they went third-party for these, like I did and many others. And I really like my set that's got a little bit of felt on the bottom. It's nice and thin, so it doesn't interfere with a ton of play. It's not too thick. And the only thing I have to double check and make sure about is they have a crate symbol on it. So I need to know whether or not that's okay.
I've never seen that in Star Wars. It's just a random skull.
It's
Is there a reference to like how you keep score for your game? I know a lot of people have like
there are
dials
tokens
for it.
that. In the, I don't know if it's just the Epic conversion kit, but there's also print and play. There are victory tokens that are part of the game right now. They're black and yellow. I know. I'm pretty sure Curl Paw makes acrylic versions, and they're like the exact ones, which should like be perfect. They should be much of an issue because they are correct size, iconography across the board. There's those which I've used myself to. If there's a side of them that's 1 and the side that's 3. As far as I'm aware, in conversations I've seen and been part of with other judges, and double check with them, but printed score sheets, there should be no problem keeping those to keep track of your games between players, so that you don't have to make sure that, oh, did I do my token right the last round? Do I need to flip it to the 3 side versus adding a 1 or a 2 or whatever? I still highly recommend, if you want to bring or have a notepad of some type, whether it's a preset score sheet style notepad or literally just a notebook style, just to say, hey, here's my points, here's my opponent's points, here's round 1 through whatever, and just points each round, total points is this current status. I would highly recommend still having that with you.
Absolutely. Tokens, charges. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to bring up in this document, because I mean it's a lot to think about.
Make sure you have enough charges.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
It sounds dumb, but like I brought out one of my lists recently, and I looked at it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got enough official charges here, and I put all my charges out, and I'm like, nope. I can't exactly use these OCX beer can charge tokens to fill out the rest of my charges. So I might need a couple cardboards or find some other charge tokens that are in my drawer of random organized play stuff.
So, again, this document will be linked at the top of the description. If you're watching this later, whether it's on YouTube or on your favorite podcast listening app, we'll have it there. And make sure that you check it out, because you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the person who gets wrecked at Worlds because you're like, oh, I wanted to use my Lego figurines as target locks, and now you're out of luck. Because here is the issue, right? Because they said, like, Chris is being very kind, and saying, like, there's these clauses here and there that said, like, they'll be provided if necessary. If enough people mess up, right? Enough people don't bring what they got to, they're just going to be like, well, I guess you can't play, can you? Like, that is the realistic solution. You didn't bring your stuff, you're DQ'd. And I know that sounds real harsh, but I want to put the fear in you to avoid anybody doing that. I want you to be safe. I want you to be safe, Marcel.
I sat through this whole thing, and I actually listened to the Fly Better one as well. I still don't know. I have no idea what's going on. So I want to take an over-under on me getting disqualified.
Yes.
No. Well, yeah, I guess
You're already disqualified.
Wait. The over-under, I guess, would have to be warnings to disqualification, right? How many warnings before disqualification?
Well, so if Dion's situation comes to pass, as an example, and you're not
It's
one
all
of the
the warnings.
people. So I don't think it's like a warning thing. It's you don't have your components to play.
No, I know.
So
but
you don't just like. There's no like warning.
But
You
there's
still don't have your
multiple ways
components.
of getting
Warning.
disqualified. You can get disqualified by getting warnings, and you can just get disqualified by all. It's like soccer. In soccer, you go out, you get a yellow card, and then another yellow card. It's a red. But if you do something flagrant, it's like straight to the red. So I might just go straight to the red, or I might take the yellow card route to disqualification. But
I think the yellow card route's more of an attitude thing and not an official component thing, though.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I could attitude it too. Well, it can happen.
Don't get DQ'd, man. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's a tough ask.
Just be a good boy. That's all we're asking. Is just be a good boy. All right. All fun aside, seriously, guys, make sure that you just double check that stuff so that you don't wreck yourself. We want you to be okay. All right, now let's talk about our boogeyman of the week. Well, who's our boogeyman of the week?
This week we are looking at Darth Vader's. Darth Vader comes in 4 different kinds, but we'll probably focus on the pilots for this week. We're talking the Battle of Yavin. Darth Vader in the customized X1 and that 9-point Defender Vader. Now, if you've seen most Imperial lists, they have one of these Vaders among them, unless they're going full tie. But these Vaders can be extremely problematic. They're very powerful pieces. That's why a lot of people are gravitating towards Vader in this environment that we are playing the game in. Now, for you guys, let me ask you before we start going too deep into them. Of those 3 or 4 Vaders, what do you think is the most difficult one to play against?
So the most difficult one, not the most likely to be seen.
That's true. I think those are different questions.
Yeah, those
Right.
are
Are different
most
answers,
difficult
excuse
one
me.
For me is 100% going to be Defender Vader. Is the most difficult one to deal with.
Yeah.
Why
So
do
that's
you
your
say
first
that?
question. Why? 7 health, hits like a dump truck, is got a lot of flexibility in the choices on how to load itself out, and focus evade every turn. I mean, it's basically focus evade every turn. You can throw 4 dice from range 2 and 3 if you go with that. The juke, I mean, it's just an offensive beast, and it is extremely difficult to actually kill. Even if I mean, you need sustained firepower plus blocking, so you need to be able to block it or stress it, and to get it to not be tokened up because of those free evades. And because it has 3 agility and 7 health, I mean, you guys know how hard it is to kill a simple TIE fighter sometimes. So
we'll get more into it, specifics here. But that's
well, you asked me why, so I was getting to
I understand.
So I think I agree. If you're just taking Vader in a vacuum, 100% the Defender Vader is more difficult to deal with. Every other I6 hates seeing Defender Vader because he can square up to you and trade with you much better than you can more likely trade with them. You know, Poe and Anakin 7B do not want to see the range 1 trade there because they have 2 agility versus his 3 and being Defender chassis. They have to evade their way around him. Django's a medium base. He's going to get 4 dice every turn possible. You have and the other Vaders, the X1s, and they might be able to shrug off some damage here and there, but I mean, Defender Vader can hunt other aces well, but he can also just deal damage to other opponents' lists well.
X1s don't have an evade action. And that's
well,
like
normally your 7-point could opt for Debris Gambit. I've seen those. Maybe an option. If you were talking about which one I'd rather deal with the lists they bring around them, maybe a different discussion. But at least in a vacuum, only talking about the Vader itself, 100% is Defender Vader. I would want to see the least.
Okay, so let's. I like the way you guys are approaching this. That it sounds like there's something that makes then the X1 Vaders easier to deal with. Is it just the evade, or is it something else?
Well, it's that blocking or jamming mutes their offense, especially the
You're talking about the removal of the target lock.
Yeah, taking the target lock away. Because if you block Defender Vader, all you're doing is basically giving it a stress and taking away the evade token. But that's 7 health behind 3 agility, so you're still gonna have to do that multiple times in order to kill it. In the other ones, it's gonna be the block is gonna say no target lock action. So now have a Vader that has a 2 die, maybe 3 die gun. So it's a huge. It's much easier to deal with because if you get a block in there, or if you get it stressed or jammed, it debilitates it.
I think while jam is a strong usage against the X1 Vaders, I think Yavin, Boy Vader, as long as he gets to range 1, I mean, with his ability being almost exactly like Defender Vader's, just he can use his force on defense, means he just prints hits. He prints successful results. Like, at least
Control P, baby.
That's what Defender Vader does. That's what X1. That's what Boy Vader does. Like, even though they might not be throwing their 3 at range. I mean, you don't want to be in the situation where your Yavin Vader is throwing 2 dice at range 2 or 3. It's not really what you want to do. But if he can get to range 1, he's printing 3 hits, as long as he has 2 force most of the time, even without the lock.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Dion. What do you think some ways that we could list build to start combating these Vaders? They seem very both offensive and defensive capable. Plus, they have that high initiative.
So one of the things we've been talking about a lot on stream is you got to play the scenario. You have to play the scenario. So one way to combat ships that are hard to kill or ships that hit like a truck, all right, obviously you got to survive. There's nothing. If you brought all 1 agility ships and they're low health and you keep popping off, that's on you, okay? But if you play the scenario, you give yourself the best chance. If you see a Vader on the other side of the board and it's not chance engagement, the correct choice may be to not shoot that Vader. You know, you just do the scenario action. Focus on making sure that you are collecting scenario points. Because, man, we have seen so many games, Will. So many games where somebody just locks on like, oh, I got to get a shot. I got to get a shot. No, you don't have to get a shot. In fact, if you're – okay, I think probably the most infuriating one I've seen is you got like – even if you can't see the timer. You've been playing for 50-ish minutes, and you just got the first shield off of Vader because you decided to shoot him for the first time. It's not worth it anymore.
No.
You go in early if you're going to, but if you don't do it within the first 2 rounds, maybe the 3rd round, you haven't done something to Vader, leave it. Unless you got like 5 proton torpedoes, which I don't even know if it's even possible in the game right now. But you would need to
get 5 proton rockets.
I don't even know. I think you need to follow up shots.
I'm just saying you could get 5 proton rockets.
I feel like if the Defender Vader player lets you have 5 proton rockets, they've done something wrong.
They deserve to get shot. Pop, pop.
You've done something really well.
So you're saying when playing against Vader,
yeah,
always got to calculate in. Essentially, take his points, whether it's 6, 7, or 9, and just make that your goal for
make that up in the
objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing I'll caution against that, though, a little bit, you know, to your point, you were saying that you do that when it's, you're into the game, you've taking your shots of opportunity here and there, and then you finally did some damage. And that's not just Vader, Defender Vader, but that's like, again, if you've ignored Bosk, or if you're ignored Boba or Jango or something, and he's starting to take that first shield off midway or after the midway, yeah, ignore it. But I do think it is a valid strategy and even important to dissuade the Defender Vader from being a little bit too gun-ho and taking a turn, even if you're not planning on killing it, just taking a turn to point all guns over there, even if you're planning on disengaging the exact next turn, just to set some like, hey, if you're going to put your Vader in that spot, I'm going to take 3-4 shields off of it, or I'm going to like really, like I'm going to come after him. And make that Defender Vader start trying to kite, start trying to do something else other than just pummel you. Because if you leave it ignored and they know you're going to ignore him, all they're going to do is they're going to get to the point where they're not even doing the 3s to get the free evade. They're just going to one bank and just stay on your butt. So you do have to play a little bit of that. Cat and mouse game, being like if you want to play that game, I'll play that game, and make sure that Defender Vader is at least trying to play a little cagey versus just being like, no, I'm going to be in front of you the whole time.
I have generally a much more different mindset. And again, scenario dependent, my list dependent. When I'm bringing, I think everyone, and I doubt a majority of the people are actually going to listen to this. Because they won't do the next part. You have to look at your list in every matchup you go against, in every high point, most cost ship you see on the opponent's side of the board. Do I reasonably have enough firepower to kill this ship and still win the game?
Ooh, that last part's important.
Because you can still have the firepower to kill a Vader. But to do that, over turns, multiple turns. You start prioritizing it. You lose your scenario points. You lose out on killing opposing ships. Those opposing ships are hanging out around longer, shooting you along with Defender Vader. That's when it's going to hurt you. That's when you're going to lose. That's when Vader's going to escape. And you're not,
And
like,
that's
even though you had the firepower, you went too hard on a ship that reasonably you did not have to kill. Now, I think I partially agree. Like, there are some points in the game where you point at Vader or make him think about, should I, like, if you also have an I6, should I care about make your opponent think, the road rule, if it doesn't benefit me, am I going to be in a little bit of trouble? Like, should I, like, respect that Poe, that Anakin, that Django, etc., etc.? Most of the times, no. Defender Vader's so tanky as it is. But I think, for me, there's a lot more credence to, if I see Defender Vader, I'm expecting not a lot of ships on the board that are going to eat. Or to clarify, if I see Defender Vader, if they have 5 to 6 ships on the board, it's because they brought a bunch of piddly little TIE fighters. Okay, and I understand what those are for: objectives, or getting in the way of stuff, blocking, etc. But if they have more commonly 4 ships, what I've seen, and honestly, I think one of Defender Vader's best friends is Captain Farroff with Seventh Sister, being a Reaper, disrupting things, medium base, jamming, potentially jamming twice with Seventh Sister when Vader's juking. That's a very nasty combo. But I've seen a few people bring Vader and the boys, your stabber mauler plus a Reaper, or multiple combinations. I want to kill everything except Vader.
Right.
By that point, I have enough ships on the board where I can comfortably say, I think I can kill everything but Vader. And then I'm going to do, while I try and maintain scenarios. Because if I do try and go after Vader, I'm probably giving up some scenario points just to be able to attempt that. Whether I succeed in it's a whole other story. On the flip side, with Yavin Vader, and I think I'm just generally going to skip out a lot on talking about 7.x1 Vader, because it's barely being used.
I'm starting to call it pattern analyzer Vader, because
That's really
seems
what you
to
get.
be,
That's the big benefit.
yeah, unless you're trying to go like shattering trick, the reason you're bringing that 7 point is for pattern, so you can do the Talon roll, lock, focus, boost, and all before you get a stress.
Yeah. I think just what Boy Vader gives you in the squad building department means a couple things. That Vader is actually still pretty hard to kill. 3 shields, 3 hull, 3 agility, 3 force with hate. That's hard to kill. That's not an easy task. It's not as hard as Defender Vader. It's not as hard as maybe some other ships out there. It's not easy. And he's only 6 points. And people only. That's still on the high end. Well, yeah. But when you kill him, it's not game ending. It's not, oh, I've lost the game, even though we haven't actually got to 20 yet. It's not, oh, I lost most of my entire offense in my list type of thing. And it still takes a lot to kill him. He's not so expensive or cheap where you could just ignore him like Defender Vader, or try to ignore him. I think in both cases, that's where you send a ship to disrupt them. Your Whispers, Marcel, like you just send one Whisper over to an X1 Vader, even a Defender Vader, and just be like, I'm going to be there just jamming away. I'm jamming you. I'm just sticking to you, being a little buddy, just jamming over and over, just being a little annoyance. My 4-point thing, or 3-point thing, for some other things are 3 or 2 points BB-8 that can jam, become very useful for their time, even if it's just jamming an opposing ace and just being a disruptor, or blocking. As we know, blocking's still very disruptive, even if you could take the stress focus.
So, what are you guys? Is there a certain tech that you're trying to put into your lists to now? I mean, Vader is similar in the fact that he's a high initiative, high damage output ace, right? But is there something that you're putting in your list to combat a ship like that? My example, my go-to right now as a Vader hunter is Django, specifically Notorious False Transponder Code Django. Whether I get initiative or lose it, or not initiative, player order, I get a win either way. Either I get to see where Vader goes, or I get Notorious if he tries to shoot me, assuming he doesn't arc dodge me. And that has, especially that false transponder code to deal with the regular Vaders, the non-defender ones. But even the defender ones, if you can get that evade off of them to weaken their both their attack and their defense, is a great way for me to be able to combat it. Is there something that you guys are reaching for? Or you mentioned other I6s. Is that the way to go?
I think for me, when I'm playing, I like to always have something that hits really hard. We were joking about proton torpedoes, proton rockets, but having even just one thing that's a 4-dice attack can at least, for some Vader players, not all, those that they feel very, very confident, they have that Vader-like confidence. This may not scare them, but I would say for your average player, if you're holding on to a proton torpedo or a proton rocket, they're at least gonna think half a second before they 5-forward boost into your face.
I think don't build against it. Have a plan against it with what you are bringing. Because you may plan. The worst thing is, especially in the old days, when it was more, the meta was a little bit more linear, and there was not linear, more narrow, and you would plan against something, and then you would go 8 rounds without seeing it. And now you planned against something. So just have a plan against it, but don't build against it. And the plan would be mostly if you've got a low initiative or mid initiative list, just make sure that you understand which ships. Well, like Brian said earlier, make sure you understand how much damage output you can actually put out to see if you can realistically kill something or not. Mm-hmm. And then also make sure that you practice your blocking. And again, at this point, it doesn't really become an offensive block. Like, you're not trying to block something in order to kill it. You're trying to block something in order to mitigate its effectiveness. It won't be able to take actions to capture objectives. It won't be able to boost and barrel roll to get into a position to kill something. It won't be able to target lock in order to. So just practice your locking and things like that. Not your locking, your blocking. If you have a high initiative, make sure that you understand whether you can trade with it or not, and whether you need to send your little minions out there first and just. So just have a plan. It's a long way of saying have a plan, but don't build against it, because I do not feel that we have archetypes, but we don't have a true boogeyman. We're gonna go through archetypes. But.
True. Now, and I would say Anakin, 7B, Poe as well. There's other ships that do something similar to Vader that you're definitely going to see as well flying out there. Even the equivalent of Luke, who's kind of hard to hit and can hit you back very hard. So I like that, though. If you have a filler ship, make sure you use it. If you are more objective orientated, make sure you're utilizing the pieces that you bring. Is there anything that we're missing as far as what Vader's trying to do within his own squad.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing that we're missing is we've talked about Vader and how to deal with Vader and why, and this conversation has carried heavily into the Defender Vader more than what honestly we'll probably see. What we
I
haven't
think
talked
we will
about
see
is
more
the
boy. Yeah, I agree with
what we're
that.
not talking about is the list. Like what archetypes and what lists are they fitting into?
That's true.
I know that we've got the one that like Jeremy Chamberlain and those people have been flying.
Google
Those have
list.
been the Uber list.
Oobles.
One of them that I ran into in a just random practice a few weeks ago. I actually have not played X-Wing in like 3 weeks. I played just the Sector series. It's the only games I've been playing for the last month. But one that I ran into a few weeks ago that just kind of surprised me at like one of those like you could fit that was Rexler Brath in the Defender, Vessery in the Defender, and Boy Vader. You can also swap out Vessery for Volt, so you can get 655.
Yeah.
But basically, 2 Defenders plus Darth Vader. And both Defenders are juking, and if you take the Vessery one because of Vader's target lock, is getting target lock rerolls. Like the amount of damage that it was able to put out, and the amount of damage it was able to mitigate just because of all the free evades and force and 3 agility was insane. Like
I was able to get, I think it was like 2, at least 1, if not 2 games in Sector Series. I won with Volt, Rexler, and Boy Vader. I've seen people swap in one of those 7.1s for Morna Key as well, to just throw some beef out there and along with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I played the
be
Vessery
surprised
one, and the Vessery one was interesting because Vader, it made Vader kind of bugging out a little bit to reposition because it's basically the easiest one to kill. It made him still be useful because it was just basically giving Vessery free rerolls the entire time. Yeah, it was pretty mean.
I mean, Vader can be a good bait. Borderline unlimited force, a couple afterburners charges, moving at I6. Can get in and out of combats. That's interesting.
What other ones are you seeing?
I mean, of course, you have your TIE swarms, right? Your mini swarms now. I don't think you can fit the full like 5 or 6 that you used to be able to. But I think Iden and like Moff Gideon are still going to be around to help Vader hit extra hard. We've seen what was an Interceptor, Feroth, and the filler tie. We saw
With Defender
with
Vader, the final
Defender Vader.
LVO. Yeah, Second Sister Interceptor. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you have a lot limited options with Defender Vader. But yeah, that's what I think is more scary about the Boy Vader is that you have 14 points to play with. Essentially get a whole extra ship and a half sometimes versus the Defender Vader.
Yeah.
Ryan, have you seen any? Well, you said Ubo before, with Ubo and the boys, essentially.
Yeah,
is there really anything else that's popped up?
So that list specifically, Boy Vader, Stabber, Mauler, both from Yavin, Ubel in the TIE Brute, and a generic TIE Fighter. So that's what Jeremy Chambly had been successful with, both at PAX and LVO. And then, so baseline, the popularity difference between Boy Vader and Defender Vader is big. We talk about how scary Defender Vader is, but the chance of you actually matching up against a Defender Vader, based on estimates only, not obviously fact, because this hasn't happened yet, your likelihood of facing a Defender Vader at Worlds in Swiss, granted we have a lot more Swiss rounds now, is drastically lower. Like, you're probably going to more likely face multiple Yavin Vaders than you are a single Defender Vader.
Absolutely.
So what that also means is you should be prepping more for Yavin Vader, but have a plan for everything as you should. In terms of other list types, I've seen people go with Yavin Vader, Mauler Stabber, Faroff or Vizier, and then Gideon or Iden. I prefer the Gideon Faroff instead of the Vizier or Iden. It's people have tried, and it was one of the first things I tried too. Iden with the boys, Stabber, Mauler, just to these are now 4 Hull and TIE fighters that also have to have an Iden charge be put through. But it is really weird to move Iden around with those TIE fighters when those TIE fighters want to go fast, use their afterburners, get in the fight, flank, and just be really aggressive. And Iden really can't do that really well without being a sort of tether that they don't really want to follow. So, I
He'd
think
be
that
a very good solo objective carrier, though.
100%, yes. But then I look at a regular generic TIE fighter at 2 points and just say you can probably do the job that Iden was going to do. And yeah, you don't hang around like Iden does, but if you just plan your pathing well and just not avoid the fight and just go score some objective points, you do your little job, tiny TIE farmer.
I'm just over here collecting points.
Yeah, just a humble farmer.
Love it.
I think, I don't know, you're more Desi savvy than I am, Will, but how many points fits after Morna and Vader? Is it 7?
I assume you're talking boy.
Yeah.
Because boy, you get 14 points, so 2 7-point ships. Essentially, Backstabber and Mauler are a 7-point ship. So you really do that's kind of interesting, how you can build around him that ends up being like groups of 7. Magva and Juno. You have Countdown and Gideon, Moff Gideon, right? You get a lot of different variety in there. I think that we're going to see a lot of those boys, but I'm not sure if people will be reaching for more obscure ships like Ubel, because it's hard to fly. Countdown can be hard to fly as well. If you're taking less stress, you can get trapped. So it'll be interesting to see maybe if there's a secret tech out there. Dion.
Yep.
We didn't talk about the crew Vader, but you can't put the crew Vader on a decimator as well. But we've seen less and less double decis since Gen Con, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've died down in popularity for sure. I mean, LVO was our last big tournament that we were at. Mm-hmm. Battle of Yavin Vader was everywhere. Everywhere. You think about how often you saw it on stream, it was more prevalent than that even. It was hard to dodge for me, and I get to choose my matchup. Okay? Think about it that way. But yeah, this was a great discussion. We're definitely going to be seeing a lot of Vader. Not surprised, he's a main character for the series. So I think AMG's getting what they wanted, right? They want the movie characters to be good. We're talking about Darth Vader. We're talking about Anakin Skywalker. Same person, but you know what I mean. Different pilot in the game. We'll talk about some more of the boogie pilots next week, but I think Darth Vader was a perfect one to start off with because 100% will be seen. No doubts. If you manage not to not play Vader, I'm impressed. I'll give you a thumbs up.
I want to know what universe you came from.
You were probably playing Vader.
There it is. All right, everybody. Well, continue to prep for Worlds. Make sure that you get your components checked out. If you're in Sector Series Top Cut, or if you were close to the cut, make sure to check Discord for all of those notifications. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and we will see you at Worlds. We'll see you next week for episode 300. People keep asking, are you doing anything special for episode 300, Dion? What do you want? We should. You're right. I don't got time. I don't got time to plan anything special.
Why 300?
I don't know.
Like what's special about 300?
It's because it's like a big number. The 100 3 times.
number.
Well, 301 is a bigger number.
Well,
Yeah, but it's not an iconic number.
Well, 333 would be.
I'll try to think of something. I mean, at episode 3,
number.
1, 2, we should definitely have Nick on, but that's
There you
about.
go.
That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Oh, Chilling Guy, good throwback. He said, what about a town hall? We did that for episode 100. Oh, man. That's a throwback. Just like have like people call in to the show.
Can you on
That's
Discord?
March.
Can
It's
you?
not next. Is it next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's next week. On Discord, can you? I guess you could just upload a voice file, like leave a voicemail on our Discord.
We have to pre-screen those, though.
We would have to pre-screen them. Interesting. Maybe we'll send a call out. Maybe we'll see what people want.
All right, everybody.
Maybe just some balloons. Maybe we'll paint miniatures. You don't know.
Maybe. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and be smart and be safe. Gold Squadron.